All right, we're going to take a look at introduction to functions or function notation. So let's go ahead and just define this real quick. Function notation is the way that a function is written. So please don't get confused as, just the way you have different languages or different ways of saying, hey, what's up? How you doing? They all mean the exact same thing. I'm just going to introduce you another way of saying hello. Okay, or what's up, or hey, what up, bruh, whatever it is. Okay, so function notation is the way a function is written. It's meant to be a precise way of giving information about a function without a rather lengthy written explanation. Okay, so look at f of x. This is how you read it. F of x is equal to 2x minus 4. Usually, what you're used to seeing is y is equal to 2x minus 4. It's the exact same thing. We're just writing this as a function of what we are talking about. So, hey, I'm defining this function of x because I'm going to be talking about x to be this. It's the same as saying y equals. So f of x, g of x, h of x, I of x, any letter of the alphabet of x is saying this is a function of x. All right, so we're going to go over what it means, what each of the pieces mean individually. So let's start at the beginning. What is f? F is the name. All right, so again, everything I do, you write down as well. Name of the function. Okay. All right. What is x? F of x. What is that? That is the input value. So the value that you're going to put into the equation. All right. What's next? So there's an arrow. So this is what you're putting into the equation. And all of this is going to give you the output. It's the value found after you plug in the input. So once I put this in, what am I going to get out? So that is a function. So what am I putting into the function? Whatever x is in this case, and it can change. It could be t, and if it was t, the input would be t. And then what am I getting out? So once I put this in here, what am I getting out? Okay. All right, so we're going to just take a look at what that really means. So f of x simply means replacing the y in the equation. So y equals 2x minus 4, as shown above. The function notation shows us the name of the function and the algebraic rule. So what am I going to do to this function? I'm going to multiply by 2 and subtract 4. It'll be using. Note, any letter may be used to name the function, such as g of x is 5x minus 8, or h of d, it doesn't even have to be x, right? Or j of k, and so on. So we're going to look at different ways to evaluate the function because this function here in particularly is given as an equation. So that's what we're going to start with first. So evaluate a function given as an equation. So how do I read this again? So try say it before I do. H of e is equal to negative e plus 4. What's my input? E. And what's my output? Take the negative of my input plus 4. So when it says find h of negative 6, what's the only thing that's different? If I had h of e and now I have h of negative 6, what changed? H is still there. The parentheses are still there. The only thing that changed is that e is now negative 6. And that's exactly what it means. It means take negative 6, put it into the function. What do you get out? Now, you can definitely do this by hand. Depends how great your math is. But this, we're going to focus on the calculator. It says type in everything after the equal sign. So we're going to go ahead and put that into the calculator. All right, so let's talk about splitting your screen so that you can see both what you're doing and the calculator on the same screen, because we're going to do this a lot in class. What I want you to do is come to you see the two small boxes on the top right-hand corner. You're going to hover on there. For whatever reason, the hovering is not working for me. Let me try it on the actual Word, on a, what do you call this? On a Google page. Let's see, hover. Yeah, it's not working for me, but for you, when you hover over these two boxes, it'll give you options. You're going to select the top left. For me, I'm going to do it manually. And if it doesn't do it for you, you can also do it manually. So you can see it makes it smaller. So now I'm just going to drag it, position it to that side. And I'm going to take this one, make it smaller as well. And you see now I have to kind of play around with it a little bit. And you can do this, but that button that I told you to hit in the first place is going to work for you. So take your mouse. If you put it to the bottom corner right, you'll see the two arrows appear. If you're not quite there, it'll go left and right. Or if you're on this side, it'll go up and down. But you want the one that's diagonal, because what that's going to do is going to make it horizontal and vertically at the same time. All right, so I'm going to put my work on my left, and on my right, I want to put up the Desmos calculator. So we're going to go ahead and just Google the Desmos graphing calculator. This is a tool that we're going to be using a lot. We're going to hit graphing, and we're going to go follow the instructions of my question. So it says, and this is going to be the key thing, make sure you type exactly what it says. Okay, so it says type in everything after the equal sign. So I look at, here's the equal sign, everything after it is this right here. So I'm going to type it in, negative e plus 4. All right. Now, this is a problem because I picked the wrong letter. I really should put a different letter real quick. See, when you do that, any letter except for E, the only difference that E works is because E is actually a number that you don't learn right now, but you will be learning in higher math. But really what it is you're typing in the function, right? Like that. So it's fine. This is not the answer. Okay. And then replace that variable. So what's my variable? E with parentheses. So it says replace that E with parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the E with parentheses. Then input the number. So remember, you got to put your input in to get an output. You can't get an answer without putting it in first. So that's how you're going to remember that. All right. So what am I putting in? Remember in my question, it said HE and I have H negative 6. So I'm putting in negative 6 in place of E. So I'm going to put in negative 6 right there and boom, I have an output. So my output is positive 10. So you can see us doing it algebraic, negative times a negative positive. So that's 6 plus 4 is 10. All right, so we're going to use the calculator to do it, and you're just going to read the instructions and follow the prompts. All right, so go ahead and see if you can do this one real quick with the calculator. All right, so what you should have done is copied everything after the equal sign, so 3w minus 2, and then it said replace the variable with parentheses. So here's the variable, replace it with parentheses. I'm done. Then input the number. And what's the number that I need? So I have RW and I have R2. So that must mean that W is 2. The input is 2. So I'm just going to come right here and put 2. And my output is negative 8. So that's how you evaluate it from an equation. All right, let's take a look at how to evaluate it from a table. So actually with a table, you do not need to put it in the calculator. You're literally just looking at it. So it's asking you, all right, if your function is f, do you look at g? No. So be very, very careful. A lot of this is just paying attention. So f means I look at f. So these are my f function values. Okay, or you can think of it as a y equals. These are my x, my input. So x is my input. This is my output for f, and this is my output for g once I put in the x values. All right, so that's a mouthful. So let's go ahead and do some examples. So we're looking at f, and what's my input? 4. So I'm going to go look at my f values, all right, for my input of 4. So here's my input is x, so my input is 4. What is my f value when I put in that 4? So I look at my f value, it's going to be negative 10. Okay, my output is negative 10. Let's go ahead and do another one. Let's do the g of negative 1. So my input is negative 1. So remember, x is input. Negative 1 is my input. What is my output in the g function? So do not look at the f function, but look at the g function. Is going to be negative 6. All right, let me do one more. Oh, there's some more complicated ones. All right, so I'm going to do example 12, and you're going to do example 11. All right, so it's just doing the math with the functions. So we're going to start with this part right here. So that's f of 3. What's my input? 3. So here's 3. And which function is it? F. So that's going to be 10. And we're just going to go ahead and write it down because this has a little math to it. So this is 10. Then I see a minus sign. Then I see the number 3. And then I see g of 10. So g of 10 is a function. That means I got to go look at it. Let me do a different color real quick. All right, so g, my input is 10. So 10 is my input, and we're looking at the function g. So what is my output for that? It's going to be 2. So this is going to be 2. And you're going to put that right in the calculator, and it's going to give you 10 minus 6 is 4. So I want you to go ahead and do this example just following those steps. And I'll start you off without doing it. So this is 2 times the output of whatever you get for g. Okay, 2 times whatever the output you get for g. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at, so we've done equation, we've done table, we're going to take a look at a graph. A graph is also very simple. If you understand, you always read X and then Y. And X is your what? Your input. So whatever my input is what I look at first. So if I'm looking for F of negative 6, so this graph is negative, is F. So all of these questions are F. So I'll do the first one, then I'll do part of the harder ones. So F, my input is negative 6. So what's my input? What variable? Is it X or is it Y? It's X. So X is negative 6. So the X is horizontal, left and right. So X is negative 6 right here. It's saying, what is my Y value? Well, if I'm right here at negative 6, right, I haven't hit the graph yet. So remember, by definition, the graph is all these dots or the outline, right? So I gotta go to the actual graph and see what I hit. When you're going to the graph, you're gonna go directly to the graph. You're not gonna do this or that, none of that, okay? You're gonna go directly to the graph. So f of 6, or if my input is -6, my output where the graph happens is -8. Okay, I'm gonna do some of the more complicated looking one. I'll do 7 and 8. All right, let's do f of 4. So again, f of 4. So I start, my input is 4. That means my x, and I can't really see this, is 4, which is over here somewhere. I don't know why it's off the graph. All right, plus, so what is my out? Well, I don't see it. So actually, we're gonna change this question. So we're going to change the question because it's off the graph, right? This is just a typo. So let's do f of 2. So go ahead and change that question to f of 2. All right, so my input is 2. So that means my x is 2 right here, but I'm not touching the graph. If I go up, will I ever touch a graph? No. So I don't go up. I'm going to go directly down. And I'm touching the graph where? At -8. So my output is -8 for f of 2. Plus whatever my output for f of -2. So this time I'm going to go to -2 as my input and then go to the graph. Now, if I go down, do I ever touch the graph? No. So I have to go up and I touch the graph right there at 8. So that's going to be 8. Put that in the calculator, you're going to get 0. So with a graph, you cannot go diagonal. You have to go straight up or down, left or right. Okay, so you cannot make shortcuts. All right, let me go ahead and do example 8. So example 8. All right, so we're going to start off with 2 times whatever the f of -1 is. So x is -1, so we'll start with my x. So x is -1. If I go down, do I hit the graph? No, I don't. I have to go up. And remember, I have to be looking at the y value, right? So this is my x value. So I don't want to look at anything but what is my y value at -1 on the graph, which is equal to 7. So that's 2 times 7 minus, then I have a 3. F of 0, so my input is 0. So I go to where x is 0, which is right here. Go to the graph, which is not there. It has to be go up, which is 4. So where I touch the graph. So that's going to be 4. Put that in the calculator. 2 times 7 is 14. Minus 3 times 4 is 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. Okay. All right. So go ahead and see if you can do these 3. Again, I'm just going to kind of walk you through it just to make sure you're okay. So for this one, it's just the input is 1. What's the output? So look at the graph. What's the output when you put x is equal to 1? For this one right here, you're going to do whatever -3 times whatever the output you get when you go look at where -4 on the graph is on x. All right, for this one here, you're going to find what is the output when you put 3 in. Then you're going to subtract what is the output when you put 1 in. Okay, so go ahead and try those 3 questions. All right, so we're taking a look at evaluating a function from an equation, from a table, from a graph. Now we're going to look at it in context. All that means is in words. All right, so you're going to just evaluate or see what those words mean. All right, so Charlie worked at a stone setting company this past summer. He earned $50 for coming to work, an additional $30 for every hour that he worked. So just take a second real quick and just think about that for a second. I go to work, and anytime I have a work problem, put yourself in it. Just put yourself in it. I went to work, okay? I showed up. As soon as I showed up here, boom, $50 hit my account. Nice. For every hour I stay at work, I get $30. So I came to work, $50. 7:05, bells ringing, $50. 8:05, how much more do I get? $30. So how much do I have after my first hour? $80. Okay. I stayed for 2 hours because Miss Ainley is rocking this money, right? I stayed for 2 hours. So 2 hours is going to give me $60 plus the original for just showing up because I'm just that great is $50. So that's 60 plus 50. That's 110. If I stayed for 3 hours, that's $30 each hour. So that's going to be 90, right? Plus the just come to work, Miss Ainley, 50, which is going to give me 140 and so forth. So this is, you get the situation in your head, and then you can answer any question somebody asks you. All right, so look at what they're asking you. So it's just about understanding how to read the function notation, right? Remember, in function notation, what is this in parentheses? The input, what I'm putting in, right? So it's your x value. So your x value is going to be your time. It's every hour. All right, so you have 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, but how many hours? 4 hours. All right, so this question is just asking, it's not even asking you to find it, it's just saying, hey, explain what E or 4 means. That means Miss Ainley came to work. Okay, we can't use Miss Ainley because it says Charlie, so please write Charlie because it ain't Miss Ainley, although I was making some serious bank. All right, so Charlie, right? Because we got to use the question. All right, so um, Charlie spent 4 hours at work. Okay, so this is 4 hours Charlie went to work. Explain what E of T equals 300. So what is this? This is the output. So remember, the input is in the parentheses, the output is after the equal sign, right? So I have a number at the output section. That means I put in some hours to get this output. So what do you think that 300 means? It's not the number of hours he worked, because that's your input, right? It's your money, how much money I have. So I have $300. That means I worked, I don't know however many hours. We can work that out, but that's not what that question is asking. All right, what does this mean? All right, so now we have a number for input, right? So this means he worked 0 hours. And what does this mean? That he got $50. Because remember, Charlie was told that, hey, just for coming to school, you earn $50. So that's what this means, that Charlie earned $50 for just coming to work. Okay. All right. So interpreting function notation is just really understanding what the question is first asking before you can evaluate the functions or explain what it represents. So we've looked at evaluating the functions. So if I asked you how many hours, in fact, let's actually answer that question. How many hours did Charlie work to get this $300? Well, we know he got $50 for just coming to work, right? So that's minus 50, so that's $250. So how many $30 would get me to $250? And that would be the number of hours that he worked, right? This says 0, he worked 0 hours, he got $50. How much did he get when he worked 4 hours? So if he works 4 hours, you're going to do 4 times the $30, which will be $120, plus the $50 for just coming to work. So that's 170. So E of 4 is equal to 170. And that's how you'd evaluate this function. But the question is just asking you to explain what it represents in this context. All right, so let's